British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Welcome back to your final news headlines of the day. I'm Riley Cunningham. The BC Highway Patrol says their month-long distracted driving campaign in September resulted in nearly 1,200 tickets being issued. 734 of those tickets were issued for the use of electronic devices while driving. Police say the campaign caught over 450 people failing to wear a seatbelt, with Central BC being the most ticketed region. ICBC states that drivers are 3.6 times more likely to crash if they're using a handheld phone, and that distracted driving is a contributing factor in 37% of all police-reported injury crashes. BC's big shakeout is set to take place tomorrow, and thousands of residents, schools, and businesses are taking part. The drill will take place at 10:16 a.m., and local governments and community groups are encouraged to take part in practicing earthquake preparedness. The provincial government is urging residents to prepare emergency kits, sometimes called go bags, they can use in the event of an emergency. Naomi Yamamoto, the president of the BC Earthquake Alliance, explains how many supplies they suggest having to be prepared for the big one.
We're suggesting that be 2 weeks because we're specifically concerned about earthquakes. And in the case of a major earthquake, we won't be having access to a lot of things, let alone water. So 2 weeks of supplies of water, food, all those great things that now we should have in our emergency kit.
BC is Canada's most seismically active region and experiences about 4,000 earthquakes every year. CBC Radio Canada is planning on building its audience, and they've outlined just how they'll go about it. President Marie-Philippe Bouchard wants to reach out to dissatisfied users who don't engage with the content, and many are in rural areas in Western Canada.
We've identified various groups that are less likely to be in contact with us today through our traditional and digital platforms. And the strategy aims at creating content and also opportunity for them to discover us.
Mark Carney's Liberal government promised a $150 million infusion into CBC Radio Canada earlier this year, saying that compared to places like France, Germany, and the UK, our public broadcaster is underfunded. Pentagon journalists handed in their access badges today for refusing to agree to new restrictions imposed by War Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Department of Defense said journalists would have to agree to harsher conditions about unauthorized information and wouldn't be able to access certain places without an escort. Large media outlets, including CNN, ABC, and Fox News, all refused to agree to the new rules, and reporters have said their work will continue despite the loss of access. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and cyber threats are evolving and getting complicated as AI comes onto the scene. Our reporter, Kai Garcia, has more on how you can spot them to prevent them in the future.
Communication Security Establishment Canada explains how cybercriminals are using AI-generated messages, calls, and videos to trick people, which makes it harder to tell what's real and what isn't. BCIT cybersecurity professor Dr. Mariam Ali Abadi expounds on this.
As long as we are getting into the AI world more and more, definitely new types of attack are coming. So it is a kind of dynamic way of learning and getting informed, keep continuing awareness.
CSE Canada said that skepticism can go a long way by spotting cyber threat signs and being aware about how cyber criminals can scam you. Kai Garcia, BCIT News.
The federal government says anyone who has been the victim of a cybercrime should report it to their local police and through the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre's online reporting system as soon as possible. A man has been sentenced to life in prison by a Scottish judge for the murder of his Alberta girlfriend in 2024. 41-year-old Aaron Pearson was said to have stabbed 24-year-old Claire Levesque at least 26 times in a hot tub while they were staying at his mother's house in the remote Shetland Islands. Judge Paul Arthurson said Levesque died an unimaginable death and that Pearson sought to belittle his girlfriend's character and made several abusive and derogatory comments about her. Levesque originally hailed from Westlock, just north of Edmonton. Scotland Police Inspector Richard Baird says he hopes the verdict can bring closure to her family. Pearson will serve a minimum of 25 years before being eligible for parole. The first case of chikungunya virus has been confirmed in New York State, and officials are unsure how the patient became infected. Julie Walker reports for the Associated Press.
A person in New York testing positive for the chikungunya virus in what state health officials say is the first reported transmission of the mosquito-borne illness within the U.S. in 6 years. It's not clear how the Nassau County resident got it. They did not travel outside the U.S., where chikungunya has been spreading, specifically in China. Health officials say the person was likely bit by an infected mosquito, but they also say the virus has not been detected in local mosquito pools, and there is no evidence of ongoing transmission. Chikungunya cannot be spread directly from person to person. The illness is rarely fatal, and most patients recover within a week, though newborns, older adults, and people with chronic health conditions are at higher risk. Julie Walker, New York.
Public Health Ontario says that the mosquitoes that carry the virus, Aedes mosquitoes, are not established in Canada, so the disease cannot be transmitted locally. For those traveling to areas where chikungunya is present, Health Canada recommends getting vaccinated and taking steps to protect yourself from mosquito bites. World Meteorological Organization Chief Scientific Officer Oksana Tarasova spoke in a news conference about the increase of CO2 levels worldwide. She says it isn't too late to take action.
Reducing emissions, taking care of the environment, looking at protecting the forest, protecting the ocean. There's a lot of that we can do as an individual.
Tarasova says that CO2 levels have tripled since the 1960s. The WMO's Greenhouse Gas Bulletin explains the likely reason for the record growth was largely due to wildfire emissions and reduced uptake from the land and the ocean in 2024. Scientists say they're hoping a series of fiber optic cables in the Salish Sea can successfully monitor endangered orcas. The University of Washington recently deployed over 1.5 kilometers of fiber optic cables off the San Juan Islands for their Distributed Acoustic Sensing project. Researchers say it could provide real-time data on how marine mammals respond to vessel noise, food scarcity, and climate change, and has the potential to turn the world's 1.4 million kilometers of existing undersea cables into a vast ocean monitoring network. Heading on over to sports, the Toronto Blue Jays face off against the Seattle Mariners for Game 3 of the ALCS tonight. Toronto currently trails the series 2-0, and they're hoping for a win tonight to climb back to an even score. The game starts at 5:08 p.m., so if you're heading down to Seattle tonight, it might be time to get moving. Speaking of heading down to Seattle for the game, fans are taking planes, trains, and automobiles south of the border to T-Mobile Stadium to show their support for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays fan Nolan Murphy says he isn't worried about the team making a comeback tonight.
I don't know what happened after New York. Maybe Vladdy's still hungover, not sure what's going on, but that offense could be definitely amplified. Overall, I feel like, we swept them. We swept them in Seattle when we were there last 3 games. I'm not too worried about it. We made it to the championships. We know all our Canadian boys are going to be there. All our fans from across the country are going to come to Seattle and represent.
Shane Bieber will be first on the mound tonight for the Jays. The Vancouver Canucks head down to the Lone Star State for their game against the Dallas Stars tomorrow night. After back-to-back losses, head coach Adam Foote spoke to the media about team leadership dynamics and how things are working out in the locker room.
Yeah, it's getting tested, and things aren't perfect either. You bring a leadership group together or a group together off camp, you're gonna have sometimes a little blip, and you just got to get back into it and not get scattered. And if that makes sense, and that's what we'll continue to talk about, and they're aware of, and we'll do.
Tomorrow night's game against the Stars is the first in a 5-game road trip for the Canucks. Football is on the rise in British Columbia. A brand new program plans to help athletes reach their full potential as early as possible. Reporter Braden Goodman has more on the first-of-its-kind program in the province.
A new football academy in BC is aiming to bridge the gap between high school and university sports. Former CFL and NFL receiver Rashawn Simonize has launched Wide Receiver University, a training program focused on developing young athletes for the next level. Simonize, now a receivers coach with the UBC Thunderbirds, says many athletes in BC start serious football training too late to compete for university scholarships. His program aims to target that gap, offering structured skill development starting as young as 9, with a focus on collegiate-level technique and mental preparation for teens. Braden Goodman, BCIT News.
With the CFL shaking things up next year and lots of speculation surrounding the turn towards American rules, more football infrastructure will be key for BC's youth to succeed. The Ottawa Senators take on the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo tonight. Superstar captain Brady Tkachuk is out for the game, having sustained an upper body injury against Nashville Monday night, and is expected to be out for at least 4 weeks. Sens owner Michael Andlauer says Tkachuk is currently getting a second opinion to see if the injury will require surgery. Andlauer told reporters at the NHL's Board of Governors meeting in New York today that they'd know more about Tkachuk's injury on Thursday. And finally, we've got weather. While the rest of the day will be sun, tomorrow night the rain comes back to greet us. Tomorrow's high will be 16 with a low of 9, and the rest of the week you can expect lots of rain, so keep your umbrellas handy. That's all we have for you for today's headlines. I'm Riley Cunningham, and you're listening to BCIT News.
Stay tuned. I would recommend this program for anyone that isn't sure what kind of job they want in media, because you learn everything from like public relations to communications to video editing, like radio, TV. So you do get a lot of experience in all the different fields in media.